Hi, everyone, and welcome. I am Dr. Paulina Van, the host of this show, The Poetry of Healing, and I am so happy that you stopped by today. Today's show is all about money. Actually, what happens to your health when you experience financial stress or economic hardship? What underlines overspending and how you can manage your emotions and promote your optimal mental health is what we will be exploring. My guest and I will talk about and illustrate ways to reframe your relationship with money and help create more happiness for you and those you provide for. She is Dr. Rosche Brown, a licensed clinical psychologist, financial coach, radio guest, and professor. She is affectionately known as the Doctor of Rethinking. She challenges her audience members to remix their thinking and to cause a mind shift into a new way of being on the journey of spiritual, psychological, and financial growth. She is wise and compassionate, professional. She's a great colleague and thought partner, and I am thrilled that Dr. Rosche Brown, affectionately known as Dr. Rosche as well, will be joining us to begin this journey right after our centering exercise. So right now, I'm going to invite you to join me in this very brief centering exercise. And it's to help us focus and collect our energy for this time together, a time for you, a gift for yourself. So today I invite you to participate in heart focused breathing. We haven't done it in a while, and it's called heart math. So let me just invite you, before you lower your gaze or close your eyes, perhaps putting your right hand over your left chest or heart area will help you to focus on that beautiful heart of yours. And so now lower your gaze, please, or close your eyes if it feels comfortable. And we're just going to do some heart-focused breathing, okay? And the intent is by focusing and breathing on with your heart, not on your heart, but with your heart, it tends to gradually relax you. Okay. So slow breath in through your nose and hold it, and out through your mouth. And take another breath, and then we'll start the heart-focused breathing. In through your nose deeply, and then out through your mouth. Now this time, when you take that breath in, I'd like you to pretend that your heart, or imagine that your heart is taking the breath. So you breathe in and your heart gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And then when you exhale, it contracts and gets smaller. Okay? So take a deep breath in and expand your heart. And then take a deep breath out and have it relax. One more time. Take a deep breath and expand your heart. And then your out breath, you're going to have it contract. Okay. And now just take a nice normal breath in and out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes or you can stay in that relaxed state. Okay. For those of you who are just joined us, I am Dr. Paulina Van, the author of Regala Healing 100 Healing Poems to Promote Self-Care, Self-Understanding, and Inner Healing. And I host this show, The Poetry of Healing. And we've just completed a centering exercise to create and prepare a space for our minds for this time together. Before we continue, I'd love to know where you are joining from. So please put it in the chat, and also like, share, and tag, just so that someone you know might benefit from this as well. April is Financial Literacy Month, and today's show is all about money and how to promote better habits and guard your mental health related to finances. You are just in time to meet our guest. I'd like to welcome to the show my longtime colleague, friend, and thought partner, psychologist, Dr. Rosche Brown. So let me bring her in. I'm bringing her in. Here we go. There you go.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Success, right?
Yes, we did it.
Yes. So welcome, Dr. Rosche. It is, such a pleasure and a gift to have you here on the show. And we're going to talk about something that people usually don't talk about, and that is their struggles with money, and then even more so the effect it has on their health. So before we get started, you have a very rich history, and I don't want us to go any further without you introducing yourself. And you can share whatever you feel is appropriate, personal and professional, and then we're going to jump into talking about money. Okay.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Van, for having me on your show. I love the idea of the poetry of healing. So that's already amazing. So I'm excited to be here. But as you said, I am Dr. Rosche Brown. I am also known as the Doctor of Rethinking because I help people to remix their thinking so they can make money, manage their money, and then multiply their money. That's what I like to say. I want you to make some money out there, but I want you to be able to manage the money that you actually make. And then we want to multiply that money. And that all starts with the level of healing. So I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I have been a psychologist since I was 25 years old. Been doing the work since 2006. So it's been a while that I've been in the work, and I've worked in all kind of areas of psychology. I worked with, foster youth. I've worked with veterans for PTSD compensation. I've worked in prisons for conditions of their parole. I've had a private practice helping people regarding just, the simple life transitions that may happen that causes depression and anxiety. I worked at Kaiser as well. Currently still work at Kaiser, helping people and triaging them for their mental health needs. But about 6 years ago, I ended up adding the financial component because people were experiencing a lot of financial stress that was impacting their mental health stress. And so I realized, helping people with healing around a money mindset was very important, but additionally giving them practical skills of what to do with their money, because a lot of us are not taught anything about money. So I was able to add that to my repertoire. I became a licensed life insurance agent and really got licensed in just financial coaching so I can help people learn how to do this a little bit better within their lives. So that's pretty much me. I mean, of course, I have a lot of other history, but that's a good synopsis of what I do.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go sit down because after you have explained, because I am standing. So, yes. So I need to go rest after hearing all that work. But, Dr. Rosche, I know that you are so passionate about helping the members of our community, and then you were able to do that on a broader basis on the radio show. But you have such a genuine commitment to helping those who are underserved, under-resourced, and just really at risk. So we thank you for your dedication and your selflessness as it comes to serving our community. So before this, this is going to be all about you because you're the expert, but I want to lay the foundation for our viewers. And so, we may use different terms as we talk about finances and the financial trauma. So, you may hear financial strain, economic stress, financial hardship, financial anxiety, debt stress, and then financial trauma. But it's all the same. It's the impact, the adverse impact that struggling with finances has on you as an individual. And financial hardship is unfortunately a common problem. So we're not talking about something that, you can't relate to or know someone who has had this problem. So I just want to lay the foundation, and then I'm going to start hitting Dr. Rosche. Oh, no, I'm not going to hit you. I'm going to pose.
Yes.
I don't want it to feel like I hit. I'm going to pose financial questions to you. Okay.
Okay.
So what is the state of the financial environment? We've had unprecedented unemployment because of the global pandemic.
Yeah.
This economic hardship has been the highest since the Great Depression. It's worse than the Great Recession of 2007 and 2009.
Yeah.
Inflation is skyrocketing, and it's difficult to just meet the basic needs for someone: groceries, gas, utility bills. And now, most recently, we've had these bank failures that are impacting deposits. So we're looking at across segment of our population, everybody's being touched by this. And, I think about these bank failures, and more so because deposits, those high deposits have insurance, but we look at the workers and who have stock in the bank, and their retirement income is hopefully not permanently impacted, but definitely drastically impacted right now. And so I read somewhere, because Dr. Rosche, I did do a little homework.
Okay.
That 50% of adults in the United States report having 2 or more financial worries. So this is impacting, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just impacting a large segment of our population. So my first question to you is, from your perspective, what are other social or economic forces and even personal history that cause financial trauma?
Yeah. So, of course, like when we talk about trauma or stress, right, it's just like an emotional response to, something terrible happening. And the terrible can be something like global, like the pandemic, something, that's impacting everybody. But it also can be just like the regular, like family dysfunctions. A lot of us, may have grown up in families where people didn't manage their money correctly, right? It could be just those simple things. And so I always ask people, like, figure out like who are the money models that you've had? Who modeled money to you intentionally, directly, or indirectly, unintentionally? How did they model how to manage financial stress, right? Because that's where it's going to start for you, knowing what to do around money. But also people throughout their lives, they end up, finding different areas that happen. So like you're explaining unemployment. Of course, unemployment is at an all-time high right now. But, people have experienced unemployment, layoffs throughout their lives. Maybe it's just like a breakup. Going from a 2-income household to a 1-income household may be a trauma that you may experience. A lot of trauma that a lot of people talk about is when a family member passes away and people are fighting over, the house and the finances that's left over from that person. And that could be a vicarious trauma that you may have just seen the family get dysfunction because of finances. And that can cause you to be in a place of avoiding your finances because of that. So there's a lot of different things that may like result in the trauma experience. We also have just regular generational traumas. I would say like that's just there that also may impact us. So I think that's like a lot of the things that impact people for their financial trauma.
Okay. Thank you. And, it's like the family, it's almost rooted in the family. But as we were talking about doing the show, you mentioned something about what happens in childhood that might impact current financial stress. So would you talk about that, please?
Definitely. So just like think about psychology overall, right? There's a theory called the psychodynamic theory that ultimately tells us that like our early developmental like experiences with parent-child experiences and relationships in our environment impacts who we are today, right? So that's just normal. It's overall in psychology. So if we think about like finance, we think about what's happening in our early childhood experiences. Like I was saying, how are people managing money? So I often will tell people, especially in the very beginning parts of our work, what is like your first money memory? And that can be something that, is really simple. It could have been almost in a nonverbal stage. It could have been, a little bit older. But some people will remember, like, I remember people getting paid on the first and people saying, wait till the first, right? Maybe people around you were saying, oh, I don't have any money. Wait until the first, right? What kind of memory did that set inside of you? And how I see that play out, for example, you may find yourself being in a household that maybe was like, only one check per month. And so you learned to have money in the beginning of the month and not have money throughout the month, right? Because that's what everybody in your family did. You may now have a 2 paycheck job where you have money coming in twice a month. But what you will do to that first paycheck, this is what I noticed, is that they will spend it on all their most biggest expenses, right? Like your rent, maybe a car note is all coming out of that first paycheck. And then you feel broke. And then that starvation experience all the way to the second paycheck. Now that is like actually mimicking the same pattern of like being in a household that was only getting paid once a month, right? You create the same pattern and don't even realize it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
That will happen. So I like to hear about, what are people's money memories, because they may find the same things happening now. It could be overhearing their parents arguing around a financial decision and notice that same type of experience is happening with them in their relationship, finding themselves arguing around financial decisions. Maybe it's like a carelessness that was, that came about, right? People are just like kind of careless with money and maybe impulsively spending constantly about things, somebody feeling upset and doing some retail therapy, right? That could be some of those things, it could be that, right? It could be the keeping up with the Joneses experience.
Yes.
So a lot of those things might happen based on those like first level of your money memory. So you kind of have to get in touch with like, where was I? What has become my money narrative based on my early money memories?
Oh, don't talk about retail therapy.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
Oh, you touched a chord there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So next, we know that there is a link between financial health and mental health.
Yes.
Such as having a high debt to income ratio is a mental health risk factor. So my question to you is, what are the mental health conditions that tend to manifest when someone is dealing with financial trauma?
Yes. So, of course, I mean, it's some, basic ones that we all know about, right? But a lot of times people will experience a lot of, depression would come along with mental health stress. A lot of us probably just experience it. When my money is low, my mood may be low, right? Like that also can easily go with that. But we also may have a lot of money anxieties. And so some of those anxieties can lead to different areas, right? So sometimes you can be, overthinking about money a lot that it may make you not spend, right? So you may find yourself on that end where you're like, I'm afraid to spend, a lot of fear of spending. Then you can have the other end of where you kind of keep yourself in, I call it kind of like money drama, right? Where you end up spending a lot of money and then finding yourself in debt and saying, oh no, right? Like you're in this kind of like dramatic experience with money. Even though you make good money, you might find yourself still causing yourself, I call it the addiction to the struggle, right? Like you can get so addicted to the struggle of money problems. And so you put yourself in the drama. In psychology, there's like a term that's it's like, well, it's a phrase that says the way that the brain will fire is the way that the brain will wire, right?
Oh.
So the way the brain will fire right? If it's used to like anxiety and worry and drama and different things like that, it will wire in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So even when it's not necessary, even when that kind of feeling is no longer serving us, we will continue to create situations that will cause us to feel that money worry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I will talk to people and they just pay off their debt too soon. And you would think like, huh, that doesn't make sense to pay it off too soon. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does is that when it will reduce their cash flow. So like I paid off everything and then now I'm broke and have to use my credit card again. Right? You can find yourself in that mode as well.
Mm-hmm.
That causes that drama cycle.
Yes. Thank you for describing it so clearly. So I want to talk about two other things, and I think one may lead to the other. And this condition of isolation when you have money challenges, because we don't talk about those challenges. So if you can speak to isolation and also the prevalence of suicide associated with financial challenges.
Yes, so good. I mean, such a good question. Because isolation is really, I would say, one of the biggest things that I see ultimately with adults. Because what happens is we never really were ever taught about managing our money, right? So that's already the history, the foundational piece. And then now we're making money and we made some bad financial decisions. And now we experience a lot of shame and embarrassment around it. And so that shame, feeling like I'm bad, right? Will then cause us to hold it as a secret. And, we understand that secrets keep us sick, right? So the longer that we isolate and we make it a secret and we don't share it with other people, we stay in our suffering longer. Versus understanding that a lot more people than what you think are going through very similar things that you're going through. And to go to somebody who can actually help you and that you can share, like it's going to be a burden that you're going to be able to like relieve yourself and say, whoo, I've been messing up with my money. Even though I look good on the outside, even though I have all the fancy luxury things or whatever the case is, I'm still struggling on the inside with how to make proper decisions around money. And so that right there is like, we have to, break the isolation, develop communities of people that we can talk to about this, a person that we feel, that will hold this in confidence, of course, right? I don't want any other shame or embarrassment to come in. So, be protective of who you share it with, whether you find yourself a financial therapist that can help you with it, or even just a friend that you feel is safe enough to share that information with. So the isolation is so important, like, to, get into a community and get into connection. Now, we understand that just like suicide anyway, suicide often, will start with isolation, like finding yourself suffering and keeping those secrets. And so as we're keeping that secret of how we're really feeling, in the work that I do, having just passive suicidal thoughts are actually more common than most people would think. So having the thought of like, ooh, life is just so hard. I just don't know if I can make it. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And maybe I just want to escape. Some of that may be just a passive suicidal experience, right?
Yes.
And it's okay to have that. But a lot of times we feel afraid of the fact that that's coming up. So we don't want to share it. So that's why you want to find somebody that you can at least share it to. Talking about it makes the feelings and the emotions, that more like intense emotions, start to subside.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So that's why we have to share, even I just love the fact that you do poetry, because even that, like doing some journaling, doing some poetry, finding another expressive way to get our emotions out is going to really be a support for us if we're able to do that. So that will reduce the suicide level.
And how often, I mean, we don't talk about money troubles, but how often do you hear the connection between money and suicide? Those are two things that it's almost taboo to even mention. But I want to, you brought up so many important points. And I'd like to just share this, and that is, what do you think of the thought that the mental health impact is really, how can I say, fueled less by how much you make and more whether you're able to meet your expenses. It's a feeling that, feeling of not being able to pay your bills, or make
Oh, yeah.
next month's rent or pay off your debt, that
Yeah.
really seems to have a toll on mental health. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. And that's usually what it is, right? It's not like how much you make, right? Because we can make more money. And that's why I always tell people, like, I often when I'm doing a presentation, I said, who in here wants to make more money? And I'm sure everybody out there will be like, me. But more money just makes you more of who you are. Right. So you can make more money and still find yourself in the same financial stress, and just, your expenses just increase. Right.
Yes. And so that's why this issue of financial stress, economic stress, it crosses the spectrum
Oh,
of
yeah.
income. It's not just, under-resourced or underpaid individuals. It's everyone. It's
So
all
it's
about,
definitely everyone.
yeah, it's about
And I will just share this one thing is
Mhm.
I call it the 3 Ps, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like, how do you see any stress in your life, but particularly like a financial stress or a money stress?
Mhm.
And they often will say, like, how do you see it? Is it personal? Do you feel like something's wrong with you? Right? That's a self-esteem
Yeah.
thought process. And
Yeah.
so if we feel like something's wrong with us, right, that's going to lead us to more of a depression situation.
Mhm.
So if we get laid off, let's say that's the financial stress, like, oh, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I failed.
Mhm.
When we have those kind of thoughts, it's going to lead us into more of a depressive state.
Yeah.
If we take this one isolated incident and we make it like what is called pervasive, right? Like we make it spread to other aspects of our lives, right? So it's not just here at work. Now it's impacting my relationship, it's impacting me parenting, and we make it spread to other things. And then now it's going to feel like it's overwhelming and over consuming, us.
Yes.
And then the last one is that feeling that something is permanent. So nothing in our lives are really permanent. Things are temporary. They will pass. Like we say, like, this too shall pass. Why we say that is to remind ourselves that this is not going to be here forever. But once we are in that state of permanency, that's what ultimately will lead to that isolation and that suicide, because we feel like this will never change. This will never change. And so we have to, like, remind ourselves things are temporary. They're not going to be permanent, right? This is only for this situation. It doesn't have to spread to all situations. Like it's not something bad in me, right? It could be something external that is happening. So we have to, like, change our mindset and confront ourselves in the way that we're seeing situations in our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are just energizing this conversation, Dr. Rosche. And for those of you who have just joined us, I'm Dr. Paulina Van, the host of this show, The Poetry of Healing. And our phenomenal guest today is Dr. Rochelle Brown, a psychologist who specializes in helping her clients and patients and the community reframe their thinking around managing finances, so it doesn't have such a strong impact not only on mental health, which is our focus today, but on physical health and quality of life. So this program is normally 30 minutes, and you see that we are in the midst of our conversation and discussion, and so we're just going to keep going, and I ask that you hang with us. The next topic, Dr. Rosche, is what are the triggers that cause people to overspend and rack up debt? Now, you mentioned some of them. Are there any other, aspects of our daily walk that contribute to us racking up debt?
So like I've said before, like a huge trigger will be like that keeping up with the Joneses, like, mentality. It could be our levels of self-esteem, feeling that we must have something. I often talk about the YOLO spirit, like you only live once, right? So sometimes you can feel that you only live once. Like, I work so hard for, my money. I need this purse. I need these shoes, that mentality,
Yes, absolutely. Can
Yeah.
you talk about social media and that effect?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, on spending.
Right. Well, social media, I think we always experience a level of like, who's popular and how can I be like this person? And
Mhm.
that was always there, but now it's been exacerbated based on the fact that we have social media and you
Mhm.
have people who are showing, a different level of life, right? Whether it's true or not,
That's right.
we may try to keep up with their lifestyle, whether that's them traveling all the time. You try to travel the same amount as them, or they're showing designer, outfits and clothes, and we're trying to, keep up with that style,
Mhm.
making sure, anytime we post on social media, we need a new outfit. Now
Mhm.
that we have that, we need a new outfit so we can post again, so social media definitely impacts, it's really a self-esteem impactor more than anything, which will then cause us to maybe frivolously spend trying to keep up with other people in
Mhm.
that way. But additionally, I would say, advertisement. So even if we just don't think about people, but we think about advertising, when we see things, and this is just like a psychology of like a consumerism
Mhm.
area.
Yeah.
They say that it takes 12 touches in order to make a sale. And so what that means is that when you see things like 12 times, it could be something simple. Let's
Mhm.
say they got a chalupa at Taco Bell. You're like, I don't even like chalupas. But if they keep on saying it, you'd be like, well, that chalupa is looking good. Like the more that you see it, the more that you start to begin to want something. And
Yeah.
it's really part of our psychology. And
Yeah.
so when you have so many sponsored ads out there,
Mhm.
we already had commercials, but we were able to start fast forwarding through those, right?
Mhm.
DVR and all that. But now you're on, your attention is on social media. And as you're scrolling, you may notice all these advertisements and they start to know you. They start to know you better than you know you,
Mhm.
right? And so now you're seeing things that you're like, I do need this. I mean,
Mhm.
I've seen it again. Maybe I really do. Let
Mhm.
me click the button.
Yeah.
Let me start to buy. And it makes it easier to be more impulsive
Yeah.
with your buying, because you're seeing something that you think you want and
Mhm.
they're telling you need so
Mhm.
often. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Roche, it's, as you were talking, I was, it was almost like a movie. And I see these folks on social media and they're everyday folks,
Yeah. Yeah.
but, and they're appealing to you as if they're sitting in your living room
Yeah.
or, sitting in the car with you and just, sometimes I think there's subliminal messages going on, but
They
I don't,
are. Oh,
yeah,
it is. It's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. So we've talked about the mental health impact
Mhm.
and why we get into this debt. So what do we do about it? What do we do about
Yeah.
this financial stress? And Dr. Roche, you have so eloquently integrated along the way some of the things that we can do. But if you
Yeah.
could just kind of highlight either new ones or those again, so that we
Yeah.
can really, I'd like the viewers to leave with some tools.
Definitely. So I
Mhm.
would say like there's when it comes down to finances, there's the emotional mental side, right? And then there's also the practical side.
Mhm.
And so like from an emotional mental side, I definitely believe in like affirmations, right? So affirmations are very key, to like really changing our mindset and changing our mindset from more of like the lack to like more abundance, or that scarcity mindset to more abundance mindset. So affirming, positive things around your finances is definitely important, right? So the I am statements with, a happy verb at the end is going to be very important. I often even have a lot of my clients download apps for affirmations. So they have like the
Mhm.
I am app where it literally reminds you to affirm these things over your life. Because we often have to, in order to retrain our thinking, we have to continue to affirm something new, right? And expose our mind to something new. So that's from an emotional thing, understanding that, your worth and your self-esteem. So increasing that, decreasing your level of shame, so finding that community to be able to talk to about what's going on, recognizing that they're experiencing similar things that you may be experiencing. So we don't keep those secrets, right? So we want to like decrease that level of shame. Also, I would say boundaries. And that's kind of a practical slash like mental There's a health thing, but understanding boundaries too, boundaries with yourself, so practicing some level of self-discipline, but also boundaries with others, because something that I notice in most people is that they give, especially the more that we have, particularly if you come from a place of lack, and then you almost feel, feel like to whom much is given, much is required. Like that spirit will come over you. And so you're like, well, I have so much, let me give to my family. And it can be to the detriment of your own financial circumstance, so have some boundaries with others. Like, how do you give? I don't believe in not giving necessarily, but understanding how to give. Then from like a more practical side, we did mindfulness at the beginning of this. And so I think mindfulness is so key, right? You take some deep breaths first, but this is the thing that people really don't like to do, but I share that everybody should do at least one time, is track your spending. So we're in Financial Literacy Awareness Month, but you look at the month that just passed, and you literally take the time for yourself and your money. Money is a relationship. That means it requires attention and some time, right? Like any other relationship that we want to grow. It takes some attention and time to literally say, day one, this is what I spent. Day two, this is what I spent. Literally go back to your bank statements and just notice, observe. It's a mindfulness thing. So it's not about judging yourself. You just want to notice and observe, like, what am I doing with my money? Just kind of get a better relationship with it. So that's like tracking your spending. Then, of course, you want to get to a place where you start saving. And I call it having an abundance fund. People say have an emergency fund, but I say have an abundance fund, because we're not trying to manifest emergencies in our life, right? So if a tire goes out in our car, of course, we don't want that to happen, but I live in abundance, so I can handle that situation. Versus having that mentality where you see a lot of people will say, every time I try to save, something always seems to happen to me. We don't want to have that negative experience of things. We just want to start to say, like, hey, I'm in abundance. I can handle financial situations, because life happens to everybody. It's not just happening to me. But if I'm prepared for life, it doesn't have to be so difficult when it comes about, right? Yes. So I think those are some of the things that, I tell people. Of course, financial education, making sure, like, of course, I'm a life insurance agent. Make sure you have protection, have that area, because things happen. Be prepared for the what ifs of life. Make sure that your family is protected and loved, and that you don't create a financial circumstance for them because you don't have that together. Preparing for retirement, all of those things, because one day we don't want to have to work as hard as we're working today, so Absolutely. Those are more practical steps.
So when you talked about looking back at the previous month to see what you spent, I am sure that 99.9% of us, and I'm going to include me too.
Yes.
If we did that, we would be surprised.
Yeah.
At what we, spent our money on. And it may not have been frivolous.
Yeah.
We're just not consciously spending. And so I love the thing about mindfulness. And at the end of the show, I'm going to do a meditation. And it's so interesting. We didn't talk about this, but it includes I am statements. So, we're connected here.
Yes.
We are connected. So what I did want to ask you about is that I read this article in preparation for the show that talked about scheduling time to worry about money. So you're not worrying about it all day long. You just said, okay, from 5:30 to 6, I can worry about money, and then I have to set it aside. What do you think about that strategy?
So it's so interesting, because I say, like, when I tell people about anxiety, and there's two ways to kind of manage anxiety through journaling. And you can have the worry journal, and then you also should have a manifestation journal. So to me, worry journaling, and I wouldn't spend as much time on the worry journal, but you take the time to just be in the worry. What's coming up for you? So it's just really more of a mindfulness act. Like, what are the irrational thoughts that are showing up in your mind? Reminding yourself they're irrational. Fear, when we think about fear, they're the lies we tell ourselves, right? That's why I tell people, it's just the lies we tell ourselves. They're not true. but let them come through so they can come up and pass along, right? Because when we're trying to stuff them down, we're causing other problems. So let them come up and let them pass by, like that's the mindfulness, activity. That's the best way to do it. But then you want to have the affirmation manifestation level. Like, what do I want to see with my money next?
Sure.
Right? Because our mind, they say like whatever you focus on expands. That's why I don't believe in just doing the worry. Right. So I want you to go into what would you prefer? What would it look like if things were going well with your money? And be realistic. Don't be like, it would be wonderful if I was living in a mansion, and, like, be realistic. What would be good if I was making an extra $1,000 a month? What would that look like? How would that free me? You know what I mean? Whether that's spirit, God, universe, whatever you say, like, how can I find that extra $1,000? Where would that come from? Like really opening yourself up to be able to receive, answers to like the problems that you're having.
Well, Dr. Rosche, I could just go on and on and on. So definitely, I want to invite you back because you have laid a foundation. You've kind of stirred things up among us to think about money, change our relationship, or develop a healthy relationship with money. Before we go, though, I really would like you to talk about the we talked about self-care, but what about the professionals that can help with this? You're a psychologist, and there are financial advisors. I read about a financial wellness coach. So tell us a bit about the people who might be accessible to us.
Yeah. So, of course you can have a psychologist, or therapist, marriage and family therapist, LCSW, any of the levels of therapists. Now those people may only really helping you with the emotional side, the more mental emotional side, and not always the practical steps. And so you may have that person for that issue, and then maybe you'll get yourself a financial coach. There's different people name themselves differently. But I would say that as you like kind of go out there and look at, who may be able to help you, make sure that they're like relatable to you, speaking your language. Make sure that you're open and honest about what's going on, asking them, what can they do? Like what, they see you at this point A, what does point Z look like? How do I get there? Making sure that they give you steps by step on how to do that. So you just want to, pay attention to those, because there's actual financial advisors, and oftentimes advisors, they are more about like your portfolio, right? Like how much money you have. And so they may get maybe commissions off of doing something with your money. Some people have like a fee, a practical fee that they're getting. And so you're like, okay, I know exactly what this fee is and how many sessions of this will I need, right? Because remember, like you're managing your money and also needing to spend your money in order to manage it better. So just make sure it makes sense for you. And that it's an investment, right? Like you don't want to see it just as an expense, but it's an investment. How am I going to get a return? If I can get handle on what I'm doing right now in the next 6 months, this is going to impact my life for years and years to come. So I may decide to spend this money in order to have a better future.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And so as we come to a close, I'd like us to do a meditation to kind of solidify all this information that we've received from Dr. Rosche. And so Dr. Rosche is going to stay with us as we do this meditation to promote just self-worth around and courage around developing, modifying this relationship with our money. And this is a meditation that I got from Daily Calm, and it'll take about 2.5 minutes. And so I just invite you to stay with us and go through this meditation with us. And so I just ask you to kind of lower your shoulders and just take a nice deep breath and lower your gaze or close your eyes and try to smooth your forehead And just continue to breathe slowly in through your nose and out. Take another one of those breaths in through your nose and out. And I'd like you to tune in to the flow of your breath. So now just allow your body to take over your breathing. Don't try to control it. Just let your body breathe for you and let your mind rest on your breath. Just observe the air going in through your nose and out through your mouth slowly. Okay. And then I'd just like you to follow each breath as the cool air may come into your nostrils and the warm air leaves your mouth. And just silently recognize each breath in and out. Okay. And I'd like you to just feel a sense of self-love and compassion for yourself as we say these affirmations. So I'm going to say it, and then you say it. And you might need to say it silently in your mind if you're around other people or a place where you can't speak out or prefer not to. Or you can say it out loud after I say it. So we're going to do it three times, okay? So here we go. The first one is, may I be happy. May I be happy. May I be safe.
May I be safe.
May my heart and mind feel peace.
May my heart and mind feel peace.
And with that beautiful, kind, open heart, let's say it again. May I be happy.
May I be happy.
May I be safe.
May I be safe.
May my heart and mind feel peace.
May my heart and my mind feel peace.
And we're going to do it one more time. May I be happy.
May I be happy.
May I be safe.
May I be safe.
May my heart and mind feel peace.
May my heart and mind feel peace.
And so now you're going to return to watching your breath going in and out, resting in this loving, comfortable space that you've created for yourself. Let your breath continue to soothe you. Okay. Allow your inhales and exhales to soothe any anxiety, worry, weariness, sadness that you have around money. Mindfulness can help us cultivate the skills of self-soothing and develop self-acceptance and compassion. Remember to reach for this tool of self-soothing. Be loving and gentle with yourself, no matter what decisions you made that may not have been optimal. It's okay. Become your own source of soothing comfort. And so as we close, you can keep your eyes closed or you can open them again when you're ready. During this episode, we discussed the link between financial health and mental health. And studies show that people who struggle with debt are more likely to suffer from depression and anxiety and other mental and physical conditions. This session was designed to increase your awareness of the importance of financial literacy and maintaining smart money management habits so that you will minimize the emotional effects of financial trauma and keep your mind healthy. Our phenomenal Dr. Rosche educated us about several strategies that might be helpful. And we are so grateful for you, Dr. Rosche.
Thank you.
After this show, I'll drop a couple of resources in the chat, including Dr. Roche's contact information. So I just invite you to please join me every first and third Sunday, right here, 9 a.m. Pacific time on blackdoctor.org. I ask you to like and share this program because I know, and we know, you know someone who could benefit from this information. Leave comments. I do read and will respond to your questions, and I'm going to ask Dr. Rosche to do the same. And visit my site at regalahealing.com to learn more about my healing and self-care work and resources. I just want to thank you, viewers, for joining us today. And Dr. Rosche, I just thank you for all the wisdom you've imparted on us. And as always, I wish you love and light until we see you again. And I'm going to put up the QR code so you can scan it. Okay. Dr. Rosche, love and light to you too.
Thank you. Same to you.
Uh-huh.